In today's tutorial we'll create this animation. Like, subscribe, and let's begin. We'll start by creating a smiley. Let's go to the viewport shading and delete the default light. In the lighting settings, uncheck both boxes. Now let's open the shader editor and select the cube. It already has a material assigned to it. I'll name it Smile. Press Ctrl T to attach a texture. And as the texture we will choose one of the emoji. Now to properly apply the UV coordinates, press U, unwrap and cube projection. Let's leave the texture only on two opposite sides. Go to the UV editor and press A to select all polygons. Now we reduce the square and move it to the corner to get the yellow side. We may also scale these edges a little. To transform the cube into a sphere, add the subdivision surface modifier. Here we're increasing the number of subdivisions to 4. Turn on Shade Smooth. Let's adjust the scale a little more. A part of my smiley will be cut off a little, but I think it's okay. Apply the modifier. And now, to finally make it a sphere, press Shift-Alt-S. Select the entire sphere, press Shift-Alt-S, and increase the quantity by 1. We've got our smile object with UV coordinates. Now, in order to add different emojis, let's go back to the shader editor. We need to add different textures, and at the same time, keep the same shader settings for all emojis. For that, we insert any node, select it and press Ctrl G. The node can be deleted. In the settings, set color, and I name it Smile Shader. And now we connect the texture here. I'll add some emojis. Duplicate the material. I'll make it unique and name it Smile02. Here I make it unique again and add the next texture. I will repeat this action several times. In total, I added 5 different emojis. I'll name this object Smile. Let's create the second element, a cell. I'll hide our Smile object. Add a cube. Our cube has dimensions 2 by 2. We'll need this later. Select the top face and press I for insert. Next, Right-click Subdivide and repeat the action several times. And then press Shift-Alt-S to make a circle of squares. Let's adjust the scale. Next, press E to extrude. Press Delete to remove these faces. Then select and fill the cap. Make another insert. Now extrude downwards. Let's assign a new material and name it cell. We'll set up the cell material later. I'll name the object cell and hide the objects. Let's create any object. Then go to the geometry nodes and click New to create a new node tree. Delete the group input. Add a grid primitive. Let's start by setting up our grid. Add a value node. I'll label it as cell size. And our cell size is 2 meters. Let's make the same parameters for both axes. We will change the grid size by increasing the number of cells. Add an integer node. Let's enter 2, for example. Add a math node. And now we multiply the size of one cell by the number of cells. This way we get the size of the entire grid. Connect the integer to the number of vertices. Duplicate the math node. Switch to the add function. And add 1. Now we control the overall size of the grid by changing the number of cells. So let's create the cells themselves. Add an instance on points node. Drag the cell object. Let's connect it as an instance. The size must match. While the cell is selected, add a Shade Auto Smooth modifier and a Bevel modifier. Now go to the camera settings. Turn on orthographic mode. And move the camera a little away from the object. Let's get back to setting up our geometry nodes. We have created the cells. Now we'll create our emojis. For that, duplicate the instance on points node. We connect the grid as the points. Add a join geometry node. And we add our smile object as an instance. Let's turn on viewport shading and see that our smileys have appeared. To create animation for the smileys, let's add a set position node. Insert it before the instance on points node. These are our emojis. Let's scale them down. Now return offset to 0. Let's connect the Combine XYZ node to offset. We'll shift along the Z-axis. Add a wave texture. Connect the color to the Z. As we can see, a wave pattern has emerged. Select the ring's spherical mode. Increase the scale. And add some distortion. To increase the displacement, let's add a vector math node. Let's subtract 0.5. Duplicate the node and switch to the scale mode. Now, by controlling the scale parameter, we can control the height. The wave pattern spreads out from the center. To make it more varied, let's add a roughness. Let's increase the distortion parameter even more. I'll enter the parameter 100 here. Now, by shifting the phase offset, we see how the smileys rise to different heights. To animate this, we'll add a scene time node and connect the frames. If we press the spacebar, we'll see that our animation is moving, but too fast. Add a map range node. Open the timeline. Our animation goes from the first frame to the 250th, so we enter from frame 1 to frame 250. Here we enter tau, the full circle length. Our emojis are moving slower, let's double their speed. That is, one cycle will be up to the 125th frame. Floored Majula we set 125, and here we enter 125 too. Now our smileys are moving faster, exactly twice as fast. The animation of the emojis jumping is ready. I'll just reduce the size of the smiley a little. For better orientation, I'll create groups. Here is our grid. Jumping. This is the cell. Here are the smileys. The next step is to add the smileys rotating animation. Add a rotate instance node. We are interested in rotation around the Z-axis. Add a Combine XYZ node. For animation, let's add a scene time node and a map range node. Now we connect the frame to the value. And here we'll set the following parameters. From frame 1 to frame 25, the smiley should rotate half a turn. This is the number pi. Also uncheck the clamp box to see our animation. Now, to make our animation less linear, we'll make the rotation speed increase as the height increases. Add a position node. And add a separate XYZ node to separate the height parameter. Connect it to the map range node. And as from max, we will connect the z parameter too. To link these parameters, let's add a math node in the power mode. And we'll connect it like this. And now, the higher the smiley, the faster it spins. I'll label this group rotation. Next, we'll add different materials to our emojis. Add a set material node. I set the material that I named Smile02. And as the selection, we add a random value node. As we can see, the material is now assigned not to different instances, but to different faces on our emojis. In order to assign the material correctly, let's add a separate geometry node. Select the instance domain. And now we connect the random value node to the selection. Add a join geometry node. Now it has selected exactly half of our smileys and assigned them material. And we need to return the remaining half. Thus, some of the smileys receive different material. To do this multiple times, let's group these nodes together. As data, we need the probability and the material parameters. That is, the material that we will assign. I'll name this group set Smile Material. So, after selection, we have a geometry to which one material is assigned, and the remaining geometry to which we will assign a different material. Since we have 5 materials, we divide 1 by 5 and get 0.2. Duplicate the node and assign the second material. There are 4 remaining materials. Divide 1 by 4, we get 0.25. Assign material 3. Next, we take a third of the remaining part and assign it to material 4. Now we select half of the remaining part and assign material 5. We connect it to the join geometry. And we also connect the resulting remainder. Now all 5 materials are assigned in equal shares. To add variety to the smiley's angle, let's add a combine XYZ node. Connect to the Z a random value node in float mode. And from 0 to 1 is quite enough. Let's edit the Y parameter so that the smileys point slightly upwards. Adjust the scale of our emojis. And here we'll increase the scale, increasing the height of the jumping. I'll label this group material. Now we'll create a camera animation effect and make the animation loop. To do this, let's add an instance on points node. And we use all this animation as the instance. Now connect a mesh line node as the points. Let's set count 2. We need 2 points. We also need to select the offset axis, along the X or along the Y axis. I'll shift along the X axis. In order to insert the exact value by which the entire scene has to be shifted, we need to know the size of the entire object along the X axis. For that, we realize instances, transform them into bounding box. And using a vector math, we subtract the minimum vector from the maximum one. This way we find out the length of each side. Now we just need to separate this parameter using a separate XYZ node. We need the parameter of the x-axis. Add a combine XYZ node and connect the x to the x. Thus, if we change the size of our grid, the distance between them will be maintained automatically. All that's left to do is add a set position node and move our geometry along the x-axis. Add a combine XYZ node. We already know the length parameter, so we take this x and plug it in here. Also add a scene time and a map range nodes. From the first frame to frame 250 it should move from 0 to the x value. We connect the result to the x. But it should shift in the opposite direction. To do this, add a math node in multiply mode and multiply it by -1. And thus we get the loop animation. I'll hide the cell so it doesn't get in our way. Let's add a transform geometry node and rotate the entire object at a complex angle to make it look more interesting. Now go to the shader editor. But first, let's set up the render settings. Let's set cycles, GPU compute, reduce the number of samples, turn on denoise. Also in color management, enable Chronos PBR for more saturated colors. Look maybe left as is. I will also check the render region. Let's go to the camera settings. Adjust the orthographic scale parameter. Check the depth of field. Let's set this parameter to 8. Next, we turn on the lighting of our scene again. Go to the shader editor, type World. Let's add the sun as a light source. Increase the strength to 3. Set the angle to 8. Next, in the settings, we'll rotate our sun by 35 degrees along the y-axis, and by 18 along the z-axis, so that the shadows fall to the side. To soften the shadows and make them colored, let's set the background like this. Let's set the color to pink. The shadows will turn pink. Let's reduce the strength by 0.5. Let's move on to setting up the cell's material. Go to the object shader type. Add a gradient texture. Press Ctrl-T to add a mapping. Let's rotate the gradient along the y-axis. Here we insert a color ramp node to control the gradient. Add a mix color node. Switch it as the factor. Add white and turquoise as the colors. To add interesting details, let's connect a Voronoi texture. Let's switch the mode to distance to edge. Add a color ramp node. Let's connect to the viewport. Switch the color ramp node to the constant mode. Move the slider until triangles start to appear. Let's increase the scale to 50. This way we get many small triangles. Connect the node to the metallic. To keep this grain only inside the pipe, let's add a mix color node. Let's connect our gradient. And we'll pick black as the second color. This way, the glitter is created only inside. Also connect this to the roughness. Here we add an invert color node. Also a bump node. Connect it to the normal. Let's switch it as height. And reduce the strength. Let's move on to setting up our emojis material. We go inside the group. Reduce the roughness to 0.35. And increase specular to get bright highlights. Let's move on to the sheen section. Increase the weight. Here we pick pink color. And we'll increase the roughness to 0.6 to get an interesting outline shade. We may use a cooler shade of pink, which will better match the warm yellow color of our emojis. And the roughness may be increased up to 0.7 to enhance the impact. I'll settle on a value of 0.65. The smiley animation is ready. And now, as a bonus, we may add a little feature. Let's create an interesting animation element that will trigger under certain conditions. The facial expression will change for those who jumps too high. Let's go back to the materials section and add a separate geometry node. Add a random value node. Here we select the instance domain. To add the second condition, we connect a Boolean math node in the mode end. Add a compare node and set the greater than condition. And we'll connect the position of the smileys along the z-axis. If the z position is greater than the set value, the emoji will change. And with the additional parameter probability, we can control how many smileys this will happen with. Let's select the required value. Now add a set material node and assign a new material. Open the shader editor and create a copy of the existing material. I'll name the material Smile Special and assign a new texture. Select the created material in the Geometry Nodes editor. Now the one that's been jumping too high changes its facial expression. Let's connect the remaining smileys that don't meet the specified conditions. Our animation is ready, now with the bonus condition. Hope you had fun. Like, subscribe, and see you there.